Is that a bit of paint or a hangnail? Oh, hello. Welcome to episode 19 of Deadly Effigy. I'm Luke Lagow, and I got a lot of questions last week about things from last episode, so I'm going to go over in detail how to do details. First off, you're going to need floating medium. That's right. Use it in every painting. And we'll also need various acrylic paints. Doesn't matter, doesn't have to be brown. Preferably more than one color. And we will need various brushes. And I don't use expensive brushes, so just buy the cheapest ones possible. I will show some special brushes here in a little bit. Let's get to it. First off, I don't know about you, but my allergies have become so bad that they've mutated into a small, angry gremlin-like creature. Like, you remember the movie The Ghoulies? The little toilet guy lives in my nose now, between my brain pan and eyeballs. So, I apologize for my stuffy voice. Hey Ferd, what do you say we pump up the funk? Yeah, I thought so. So right here I'm still using the floating medium to scrub away the paint to reveal the white that's underneath, and I'm using the smallest flat tips and one special flat tip, this guy right here. It's a brush that I got paint on and it got dried and turned real nasty, so I cut the bristles down and now it's my little scrubby brush. And it works great for scrubbing away all the way down to the white. And if you use just the edge of this, you can get very finer lines. And it's always a sad day when I run out of a bottle of my floating medium. Starting just a little bit of light glazing to get just a bit darker in some areas. Just a bit of brown and blue and some floating medium. And now I'm kind of outlining a hand. I'm liking the position of that. A little bit about lighting. Every artist who deals in realism has probably heard the adage, know where your light source is. And yeah, you should know where your light source is. It's very beneficial for you to learn how light affects forms so that you can paint realism, if realism is what you're going for. However, it's definitely a case of once you know the rules, you can break the rules, kind of thing. There's lots of factors about light. Light is bouncing around us all the time, bouncing off objects, being absorbed by objects, reflecting colors, yada yada. But if you want your paintings to look larger than life, or like fantastic, or cinematic, then consider that films, cinema, have cinematographers. A large part of what cinematographers do is light the scene. They're in there putting all kinds of specialized lights and reflectors and basically breaking the rules of light to make things look nicer. So, what I'm saying is if you want to put a light somewhere in your painting that doesn't make complete scientific sense, then I say do it. That's all I got to say about lighting. Finally going in with some white, getting some more of those highlights. For those of you who are new to my channel, most of my paintings lately have taken place in a world I've been creating called Mir. And this is the story behind this painting. There was an upheaval in Mir. Magic was being outlawed in many areas by a mysterious and mostly unseen force. Officials were appointed and dispatched to areas with larger populations to enforce the new law. The penalty for rogue use of magic was unclear, but those who had been seized were never seen again. This is Old Mez. Old Mez was a simple Albin herder. He was a descendant of a race of short, stout, hill-dwelling beings called Gennies, and his own family had been Albin herders for centuries. Gennies were like most people in Mir. They had equal capacities for good and evil, but for some reason, when a Genny chose a life of war or corruption, they'd turn particularly cruel. Or so it was rumored, but some say that's an exaggeration due to their unfortunate appearance and very sharp, intimidating teeth. The Gennies that had preceded Old Mez were quite docile, even if a bit ill-tempered and defiant, and though his ancestors had been skillful users of magic, most spells had been long forgotten from lack of use, except for one. Because the Albin were meandering and curious creatures, not much larger than a dog, they were notoriously difficult to herd. And due to their short legs and tangled in thick, matted fur, they were not very quick to escape when a predator had made a selection. Old Mez had been one Albin short of his flock one night when he finally spotted it, belly up in the adjoining field being feasted upon by a hill wolf. He did what he'd done 1,000 times before. He carefully snook up behind the assailant beast and quietly scribed the rune into the dirt between its hind legs with the tip of his walking stick. This was the rune his family had used for hundreds of years, the rune of banishment. In a matter of moments, the hill wolf turned gray and faded like a shadow, leaving the lump of bloody meat in its jaws to slop from the air as it disappeared entirely. He never knew where the spell delivered them, except that it was somewhere far away. Mez finished his work for the day, and as he approached his cottage, he could see a tall, darkly dressed figure awaiting him at his doorstep. He was sure no one had seen him use the rune. He was the only living person in the hills for miles, yet somehow they knew. He assured he'd only used it as a necessity, but the tall, darkly dressed man interjected that in the wrong hands, most magic could be very dangerous. With a wide smile, the man arrested and jailed Mez for using this ancient rune of his people. In his cold cell, Mez could hear the tortured cries echoing through the stone halls as a promise that awaited him. But maybe he had a chance. Could he dare to use it once more? Possibly he could go somewhere far away. So that's the story of Old Mez. Let me know if you like it. I think at some point I would really like to release all of these stories and all of the paintings together as a book of some kind. So that's a plan for the distant future. Back onto the painting here, you can see that basically when you start off, you're using larger brushes. And then as, of course, the details get finer and finer, so do the brushes. But with this technique, with the glazing, there is some jumping back and forth, so it can be a little confusing because you need a larger brush to cover a larger area when you're glazing. And I'm not so sure about going through and labeling every single one of these when I make these videos, but if you find it helpful, let me know in the comments. And I do have an idea for next week that should be a pretty quick one for me to produce, so hopefully it won't be as late as this one was. I wanted his feet to be kind of red, kind of like he's been a worker all of his life. Swollen, walking around in the fields barefoot. We're glazing in some blue because I wanted a bit of a different color for some of the fabric that he's wearing. Kind of a weathered, faded blue. Also, I'm trying a bit of a different editing style in this video, and I'm liking the way that it's turning out too. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm telling you, if you haven't tried this painting technique, you've got to try it. It's so much fun. I just let my mind wander and see what comes out. Ooh. Get into some of the last details with hair. This is called a liner brush. Very long bristles, great for branches, hair, veins. And it's time to sign this one. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, really. It means a lot to me that you keep coming back and watching every week. And let me know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about in depth, or if you have any ideas, or if you just want to say hey. And here's the finished piece. Thank you for watching, everyone.